In some years of NASCAR, we get drivers that make a late season charge in order to win it all at the end of the year. But sometimes, there are those drivers that seem like they are surefire favorites to win the championship. But, down the stretch, they have a late season collapse and cost themselves a championship. So today, we're going to look back at the 5 best late season rebounds and 5 of the worst late season collapses. Best rebound, Jimmie Johnson 2006. In the regular season of 2006, Jimmie Johnson and Matt Kenseth were locked in a huge championship battle. But then the points reset of the chase happened, and Jimmie Johnson started off the chase terribly. He opened the chase with a 39th at New Hampshire, a 13th at Dover, a 14th at Kansas, and at Talladega. His teammate Brian Vickers wrecked him on the last lap, causing him to finish the race 24th. So 4 races into the chase, Johnson sat 8th in points, 156 behind leader at the time, Jeff Burton. But in the next 5 races, Johnson would put on one of the best 5 race stretches in history. 2nd at Charlotte, a win at Martinsville, and 3 consecutive P2 finishes at Atlanta, Texas, and Phoenix. And all of this consistency resulted in him entering Miami 63 points above Matt Kenseth. And all he had to do was finish the race in 12th. Johnson would end the race in 9th and would win the 2006 Cup Series Championship. Worst collapse, Tony Stewart 2009. In 2009, Tony Stewart made an odd career move. He would leave the established Joe Gibbs Racing and become co-owner of Haas CNC Racing, and would rebrand the team to Stewart Haas Racing. Expectations were all over the place, but Stewart would win 3 races in the regular season. It was almost 200 points ahead of Jimmie Johnson and Jeff Gordon before the reset. But once the reset happened, it was all downhill from there. While he wasn't bad, there wasn't anything screaming championship contender. In the first 6 races, he had finishes of 14th, 9th, 1st, 5th, 13th, and 9th. Now while these results are good, they just simply weren't good enough, as he left race 6 of the chase 192 points behind leader Jimmie Johnson. And after this, it only got worse. In the last 4 races of the season, Stewart finished 3 of them outside the top 20 and had a final points position of 6th place. Best rebound, Terry Labonte 1996. In 1996, Terry Labonte was locked in a tight championship battle with teammate Jeff Gordon. Labonte was in the championship hunt all season long, but after a mediocre showing in race 18 at Talladega, Labonte sat 2nd in points behind his teammate. But in the last 13 races, Terry Labonte would record 1 win, 11 top 5s, 11 top 10s, and an unbelievable 6.5 average finish. This streak of consistency allowed Labonte to claim his 2nd championship, and it would be his first in 12 years. This championship winning season was really impressive, considering that Labonte had to beat Jeff Gordon, the guy who single-handedly dominated the mid to late 90s, and the guy who also recorded 10 wins in 1996. Worst collapse, Kyle Larson 2017. In 2017, Kyle Larson was the only guy who could keep up with Martin Truex Jr. And going into the playoffs, a lot of people had Larson winning it all, and who could blame them? He is historically dominant at Homestead, and he seemed like a surefire lock for the championship floor. But as we've all seen before, nothing in racing is guaranteed. After the round of 16 where Larson just cruised through, in the first 2 races of the round of 12, he would sit 2nd in the playoff standings, 29 points above the cutoff. But in the cutoff race at Kansas, Larson blew an engine and was eliminated from the playoffs, and it only got worse. Larson would go on to record 3 more DNFs in a row and ended the season 8th in points. Best rebound, Alan Kulwicki 1992. Now I'm sure we all know the story of Alan Kulwicki and his magical 1992 season, but the way he closed out the season was remarkable. At race 23 of 29 at Dover, Kulwicki sat on the pole, but got caught up in a wreck around the halfway point and finished the race in 34th, and leaving Dover, he was 278 points behind leader Bill Elliott. And at this point, the title seemed like a long shot. But in the next 5 races, Kulwicki would be consistent, recording 3 top 5s, and heading into the finale at Atlanta, Kulwicki sat 2nd in points, 30 points behind Davey Allison. As we all know, Allison was wrecked in the last race of the season, and this left the championship up in the air between Bill Elliott and Alan Kulwicki. This race would be a chess match that ultimately came down to Kulwicki leading one more lap than Bill Elliott to clinch the most laps led points, and this would be the deciding factor that won Alan Kulwicki his one and only championship. Worst collapse, Kyle Busch, 2008. In the regular season of 2008, Kyle Busch seemed unstoppable. Busch's stat line through the first 26 races was 8 wins, 15 top 5s, 17 top 10s, and a 9.2 average finish. Not to mention that before the reset, Busch had over a 200-point lead and seemed like a championship favorite heading into that year's chase. But the chase got off to a terrible start. He opened the chase with finishes of 34th, 43rd, 28th, and 15th. These finishes plummeted Busch down to 12th, the last of the chase drivers, and Busch wouldn't be able to recover. Busch would end the 2008 season 10th in points and nowhere close to championship contention. Best rebound, Brad Keselowski, 2012. To open the chaotic 2012 season, Brad Keselowski was struggling. In the opening 13 races of the season, Keselowski did have 2 wins, but he also only had 5 top 5s in this time. And after race 13, he was sitting 11th in points. But in the next 13 races, Keselowski would come on strong, recording a win, 6 top 5s, and 10 top 10s. And this would catapult him right into that championship conversation. And he would start to chase off with a bang, winning at Chicagoland, then nabbing another win 2 weeks later at Dover. Keselowski was unable to win for the rest of the chase, but in the next 7 races, Brad recorded 1 top 5 and 5 top 10s, and this would be enough for him to win his first championship over Jimmie Johnson. Worst collapse, Morgan Shepard, 1990. In 1990, Morgan Shepard opened the season with unbelievable consistency. Shepard opened the season with 11 consecutive top 10 finishes, which is a NASCAR record, and the closest anyone has come to breaking this record was Kyle Busch in 2019. Anyway, Shepard also had 4 top 5s and an average finish of 6.3 in this time, and after the 11th race of the season, he was the points leader by 32 points over Mark Martin, and Shepard seemed like a legitimate championship contender. But in the last 18 races of the season, Shepard only recorded 5 more top 10s and had an unbelievable 9 finishes outside the top 20, 4 of which were worse than 30th, and all of this resulted in an 18.1 average finish over the last 18 races. Now, while he did get a win later in the year in the finale at Atlanta, he finished the season 5th in points, almost 5 races away from the title. Best rebound, Tony Stewart, 2011. In 2011, Tony Stewart barely squeaked in the chase, and nobody was really taking him seriously as a title contender. And why would we? In the regular season, he had 0 wins, 3 top 5s, and 11 top 10s, and an average finish of 14.2. Stewart struggled big time in the regular season, but in the chase, Stewart just flipped a switch and opened the chase with back-to-back wins at Chicagoland and Loudon. Then he won again a few weeks later at Martinsville in Texas. And then he went to Homestead 3 points behind championship rival Carl Edwards. Edwards dominated the day, but Stewart charged to the lead and won not only the race, but the championship in a tiebreaker with Carl Edwards. Worst collapse, Martin Truex Jr. 2023. In 2023, Truex was looking to bounce back after a disappointing 2022 season that saw him go winless and miss the playoffs. In 2023, Truex bounced back in the regular season, recording 3 wins, 9 top 5s, 15 top 10s, and an average finish of 11.4. This was enough for Truex to clinch the regular season championship and the 2 seed in the playoffs. But in the playoffs, Truex wasn't remotely competitive. In the round of 16, he finished 18th, 36th, and 19th, and squeaked into the round of 12. In the round of 12, he had finished as a 17th, 18th, and 20th, and somehow made the round of 8. Truex would fail to make the Final Four and finish the season 11th in points. Truex just inexcusably fell apart in the last 10 weeks and had an average finish of 18.4 in the last 10 races. So before we end the video here, I have to address something. This is probably the last of these countdown or 5 and 5 videos. These videos initially were just made to be holdovers until I could launch the next series, but these videos actually ended up growing the channel by a large margin. I am grateful for these videos, but I am deciding that I'm not making these anymore just due to the fact that these videos are starting to have a reputation. I am being viewed as a hot take guy and someone that is doing this to fish for likes and engagement. But I have never viewed anything I've ever said as a hot take. But anyway, I made these videos because they were easy to make, and on average, they got way more views than anything else on the channel. Breaking the Chase averages around 4,000 views, and Rewriting History flopped and averaged around 500. But these have always pulled in views for me and usually got 8 to 10,000 views, and I was super ecstatic about that. But I've been accused of being a so-called like hog, and I don't want my channel to be viewed that way. Now moving forward, I don't know where this channel is going, but I do have a few videos coming out until Christmas time. And when I come back from my Christmas break, Breaking the Chase will be out for the 2024 season. But after that, I'm just going to have to figure it out. Well, anyway, that's it for today guys. Thanks for watching, and drop a comment below whether you would agree or disagree. Also, like and subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and I will see you guys next time for another video. Y'all have a good one.